have a question today, and is how do I design my own projects to cut with the Cricut Machine? This is a Creative Crafters podcast. Hi, I'm Bette from Bette's Makes, and this is your questions answered. Now, designing your own project is absolutely where all the magic begins when you start to craft with your Cricut Machine. Now, there are tons of things that you can bring in that belong to other people. They've given you permission to use. But the real creativity, of course, is designing your own. So let's jump in and how you can design your own projects to cut with the Cricut Machine. Okay, of course, the first step in designing your own projects is choosing the right software. While Cricut Design Space is the go-to choice for many crafters, you also have the option to use third-party design software like Adobe Illustrator or perhaps Inkscape. And you're not limited to what you can use to design your own projects. These programs are often far more advanced and have a lot more flexibility. However, the learning curve is pretty steep. So quite often what I do is I will stick to Cricut Design Space and start using the shapes and everything that are in there to get the basic outline of exactly what I want to make. So once you've selected your design software, it's time to let your imagination sort of run wild. Whether you're creating a personalized gift, some home decor, or intricate paper crafts, the possibilities are huge. Start by sketching out your ideas on paper first, and then brainstorming exactly how you want something to look. And that, to me, is the biggest key. Now, once you have it sketched out, I always suggest making a little paper mock-up based on your sketches without using any machinery or software. That way you can cut the pieces and fit them together so you know that you have the exact design that you want, something that's going to work, and then take the measurements of that and move that design right into the design software that you are going to use. So what you really have to consider is the thing like the size. If you're going to cut it with your Cricut, 12 inches wide is going to be your max unless you have one of the larger machines, and then it can be a lot larger than that. However, most of us have the desktop version of an Explorer or a Maker 3, so 12 inches wide is probably all we can go. For me, I have a longer mat if I'm using other materials, so I can go as far as 24 inches. But you have to remember when you're using your Cricut that it removes 1/4 of an inch on all sides all the way around. So instead of 12 inches, you actually have 11.5. Instead of the maximum of 24, you actually have 23.5. So now you've got it all sketched out by hand. You've put paper pieces together to make sure your design works. You know what those measurements are. Then you're going to take it into your software and create that design, whether it's Design Space, Adobe Illustrator, or Inkscape, it doesn't really matter. And then what you want to do is print your design out, cut it by hand, and make sure the pieces are going to fit the way you thought they were. Now you can also cut them out with your Cricut. As a test, I always use like a laser copy paper in order to make that happen. But it is so easy to do. Now, once you're satisfied with your design and all the settings, it's time to let the Cricut Machine do its work. Rather, it's magic. You're going to load your materials in, cut it out, and then put it together and make sure everything works. There's always a tweak or two when you're designing your own thing, but the effort is so well worth it. This has been the Creative Crafters podcast, and your questions answered.